Welcome to Huddle Up with Matias Bueno. Today's guests are the host of the Dunn and Drew podcast. We got Andrew Willis and Eric Dunn, straight out of Duval County, all in the great state of Florida. Guys, I'm so excited to have you on. It's great to be amongst fellow Jaguars fans and people that suffer and ride the waves of success together.
Yes, thanks for having us. It's great to see another Jags podcast out here.
Yes, that is true.
It's been an absolutely wild week with Jaguars news. ESPN unfortunately did not get the marriage of Tim Tebow catching a touchdown pass from Trevor Lawrence in the Super Bowl. With his Jags era coming to a close after one preseason game, a viral block, a turnstile move, and a stolen reception. I want to know you guys' quick thoughts on the whole Tim Tebow era, I guess you could say, or for lack of a better term. Did you think it was a publicity stunt? Did you think that his chance was warranted? Is it a surprise he got cut this early? How did you guys break down what happened with Tebow in Jacksonville?
No, I don't think it was a publicity stunt. I think it was just Urban Meyer doing him a solid. Tebow wanted one last little try. I am shocked that they really went full on tight end position with him and didn't try to get creative, knowing that he's never played tight end and, special teams he would have to contribute to. And he's never tackled anyone probably since like Pop Warner maybe. And maybe if he threw a pick in the NFL or that. I am shocked that they released him without trying. I thought the whole point of him being here was going to be like a gadget player, like maybe take a direct snap, maybe line up in the backfield, fullback, that H-back position, move around a little bit, like Taysom Hill pretty much. So I'm surprised that they really just were seeing if he would play at tight end and that's it. And they didn't like what they saw. I bet that conversation, I wish I was there for the Urban Meyer Tebow conversation. I thought he was going to make the team because I thought there's no way Urban Meyer was going to cut him, but he did. So, and here we are. I guess Manhurts. All my chips are in on Manhurts now, I guess. Him and O'Shaughnessy, I guess.
Yeah, so when the Jags first signed Tebow onto the team, I didn't see the news. Andy actually showed me and recorded my reaction, and it was very underwhelming.
Left a lot to be desired.
When we first acquired him, I didn't really think much of it at first, obviously just because he hadn't been in the league for a while and he hadn't played, tight end for the position that he was going out for. So I at first didn't think it was a publicity stunt. I just knew the relationship that Tebow and Urban had and how good of an opportunity this was for both of them to be in the NFL together at the same time. But they gave him his opportunity. And like Andy said, it just didn't work out. They didn't like what they saw on the field. And as the months were going on, I also thought that they would use him as like a gadget player or something like that. But in the end, they had to hand in their roster cuts and, 53-man roster on an NFL team, you have to be like a good player. So they must have seen something out there that they were like, all right, this isn't going to work out. So we're going to have to cut you. But Urban said that it was, man-to-man discussion and there wasn't no hard feelings about it. They were mutual about it. So it was a little fun era, very short-lived, but the hype was
fun era.
It was a very fun era, but it would have been cool to see him on the team, but it's not upsetting to me that he's not on the team. I'm all in on Manhurts too. Seeing him out there, it's a big boy.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up there, Eric, is that it's not disappointing for Jaguars fans because I don't think there was any real expectations that he was going to be tight end one at any point in time. But on the other hand, I'm sure that this won't really go away, or at least not at the moment, because I'm sure the next preseason game on Monday against the Saints, I'm sure, and the preseason weeks following that, and even I'm sure even up till week 4, you'll probably see Tebow jerseys still hovering around every NFL stadium the Jaguars are playing at, whether it be at home or on the road, because the Tebow craze was just so hot when the Jags signed him. And that was like a big rumor, like the whole, oh, well, if he did this now with Tebow, then maybe he's going to do it with Michael Thomas and maybe they're eyeing a trade. I'm not sure how true that is. I don't really think that it's going to happen, but it's definitely left a lot of questions for Jaguars fans to consider now that Urban Meyer did Tebow solid what would he do next with another former college player of his?
Yes, I would love for him to do Michael Thomas a solid.
That'd be pretty sick. I'm not going to lie, but will it happen? I don't know. I don't know if it's very, very likely.
That's not going to happen.
No, that ain't happening. Him, Michael Thomas and the Saints are cool now, so they're chilling. But
and Jameis needs that target. If he loses that target, who's he throwing to?
Jameis or Taysom? I don't know. That's another
Jameis. Yeah,
I like to think Jameis, but with what happened last year and Taysom going in, that was, I don't know, that was very, very odd. I mean, yeah, they did win and eventually did throw for more than 20 yards, but still very sketchy if they put Taysom Hill as the starter above Jameis Winston. I would be kind of shocked if they did going into.
Oh no, that's not what I was saying. I was saying who's he throwing to if they lose Michael Thomas? Taysom Hill. That's what I was saying.
Oh, like Jameis, okay. I thought
Jameis needs Michael Thomas on the team because that's their whole receiving core, him and Kamara.
Yeah,
I don't think Taysom Hill is going to be the starter of the Saints.
I mean,
he's the gadget player.
He started last year during that little stretch that Breeze was hurt, and I thought that was really weird. And to think that Taysom Hill would start this year is, I don't know. I don't think he's a bad player overall, but at quarterback, he's just like the Kirkland Costco brand version of like Tim Tebow, like not much success, but I mean, what do you expect from a guy that was like 30 when he was drafted or something like that and played at BYU and didn't really have stats that jump off the page?
Yeah. And to answer your question about Michael Thomas, like if they did give away, if we could make up a trade here, who are we going to give away for Michael Thomas? I'm sure like one of our receivers, like receiver, some picks. And I'm really fond of our current core right now with LaVisca Chark and Marvin Jones. And I do not want to give up a single one of those guys for Michael Thomas because I feel like they've got a real good connection with Trevor Lawrence and that could be built for years to come.
I want to ask you guys, who do you think then, Eric, talking about receivers, will break out as wide receiver number one for the Jaguars this year? It's been a lot of talk of LaVisca doing well. Marvin obviously came in as a marquee free agent, and Chark still has yet to rebound from last year's slump. So who do you guys think is going to break out with this receiving core in 2021?
Well, I'm biased to LaVisca because I drafted him in fantasy last year thinking he was going to have this spectacular rookie year, but we saw how our offense looked last year. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him come out this year. But seeing Marvin Jones in training camp and us acquiring him, I think that veteran that Lawrence will have now is going to be the top connection this year. I think Marvin Jones will be wide receiver number one in terms of yards, receptions, and all of that. Touchdowns, I have no idea because that ball is getting slung all over the place. But I think Marvin Jones will lead in receptions and yards. Yeah,
I think Marvin Jones number one. Chark will be that big play guy, and Shenault will be that possession guy. You know, we saw it a couple of times in the preseason game where Lawrence did quick passes to Shenault. I think there's going to be a lot of that because you give Shenault the ball one-on-one, he's getting at least 5 yards at least. Like that's just going to be an extension of our running plays this year. Just quick passes to Shenault, whether there's a blocker in front of him or he's just one-on-one with another guy. Like that's just an easy, at least 5 yards.
Yeah.
So but the big question is, I think for people who play fantasy too, is who would you draft? And I have no idea because a lot of people play PPR. Shenault's going to get a ton of catches, I think. But Jones, I think, will be number one, but Chark will be the big play threat. So who do you draft? I have no idea. And so I think I'm staying clear of the Jags weapons this year when it comes to fantasy football.
Which is a great thing for us.
Very much so. I think I would stay far away from drafting any guys in the Jaguars because like you guys just said, it's so tough to tell if you play PPR, if you don't. LaVisca could get tons of catches, but he also could not really get big chunk plays. Chark could get them, but 1 week he booms, the other week he busts. A bit sketchy with how it looks from a fantasy football perspective. But at the end of the day, the thing that matters most is the Jaguars winning games. And no matter what way they do it, or if Jamal Agnew has to boom one game for them to win, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the Jaguars need to put themselves in position to not go 1-15, or I guess 1-16 now that there's an additional game. So people, you see predictions and speculations across the NFL all the time before the season starts. You guys have been Jaguars fans for a lot longer than I have been. So what do you think is a realistic expectation for the Jaguars record in 2021?
I've been pretty bullish on 7 wins, and I'm sticking to it. So I think seven is my number. 7 wins is what I'm expecting this season, given our schedule, given the Colts injuries, even though, Ellinger and Eason look pretty good out there in preseason. Give me 7 wins. I'm content going into the following season. And if 7 gives us a playoff spot, then even better. Imagine.
Yeah, well, but 7 and 10. Give me 10 because I just think there's so much offensive fire. Like James Robinson, like he could be the featured player on this offense. James Robinson could be like he was last year. And we still have Trevor Lawrence passing threat, Trevor Lawrence running threat, ETN out of the backfield, screens to ETN, Marvin Jones catches everything, DJ Chark going deep, Laviska Shenault, easy 5 yards every single time you give him the ball. Like, I think the offense is good and the defense will be improved. How much? I mean, it looks like we might be good stopping the run. We don't know. It wasn't Chubb and Hunt back there, and it wasn't the Browns starting offensive line. But I am going with, I'm going all my chips in on this year because it wouldn't be as fun if I wasn't. So I prefer for them to win 10 games and me just be able to say, I told you so, rather than be negative Nancy and predict anything less than 500 or 0.6, whatever the 500 is this year.
And
it's not 8-8.
I hope it's not like last year where we win week 1 and we're thinking like we're this good team, and then all of a sudden we're starting losing because we play the Texans opening week and we're
if we beat the Texans, I won't let us walk away from there thinking that we're a good team.
No,
that's
although
I
know I can see myself being hype as shit. Shoot. Or I don't know if I can.
Oh yeah, no, I'll get him.
Hey, I can see us being hype, beating the Texans and thinking we're going to the playoffs. That's right up my alley. But I'm going to try to train myself from here until then to just chill. It's just the Texans because we could lose and I could be the most miserable human being for a whole week. If we lose the Texans, I'm done with the season.
Season's over.
The season, if we beat the Texans, no clue what's going to happen the rest of the season. If we lose to the Texans, it's over. Although the Colts did lose to us last year and they made the playoffs and we were a 1-15 team. So maybe the first game isn't super important, but I think with a young team like us, it is.
I feel like the Jaguars have just these weird patterns of expectations that just change like crazy based on just such stupid arbitrary things. I remember in 2017, when they beat the Patriots in the preseason in New England, I was like, yeah, Super Bowl confirmed. As everyone was joking because, the Jaguars have never won in New England in an actual regular season or playoff game. But seeing them even win in the preseason felt like as a joke, oh, well, we went 3-13 last year, so ha ha ha. And then when they ended up doing well, I was like so startled to think there's no way that there's actually any correlation, which obviously there isn't. But like you just said, when the Jaguars lose a game to open the season against the Texans, it just makes us feel miserable for a whole week. And then if they win the next week, then we're back to even keel feelings about the team. But yeah, it's going to be weird. If they lose to the Texans, it'll definitely seem super disappointing. If they win, it'll make us feel like we're riding high, and Twitter will literally just be an absolute shit show. It's going to be crazy.
That city is going to burn. That city is the Jaguars fans are going to light that city on fire the night before and the day after if we win, because there's a lot of us going.
Absolutely. And that one is that home, the first one, or is it in Houston?
We're in Houston, yeah.
Oh, in Houston.
So and a lot of Jags fans will be there.
And that's why if we lose to the Texans, right? It'll hurt even more if we lose in Houston in our opener.
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, wait, aren't they hosting Arizona to open the season?
No,
I mean to open the home opener.
Denver.
Denver. Arizona's the one after, I think. So
yeah,
I don't know. The Jaguar schedules, it's always hard to predict beforehand. Like, do you really think that it's going to be so accurate? People are like, yeah, well, there's no way they could beat Denver because Denver was XYZ last year. What do you think is the most interesting matchup that they have against an NFC opponent?
Oh, good question. Let me pull out the 2021 schedule. I
Most
don't have it
interesting.
memorized. Oh, wait. Are there any rookies that we're playing? No, they're all in the AFC.
Trey Lance, if he's starting by week 11.
Oh, it's week 11. Yes. But I said the 49ers are way too good. So I don't think that's too interesting.
I don't know, Jimmy. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Rams, Stafford is going to wipe us. Russell Wilson probably
Rams.
wiping us.
Let's see. Okay, so Cardinals. So I'll think of the Trevor and then also think of Urban Meyer. So Urban Meyer versus who's the Cardinals coach?
Cliff
Kingsbury.
That's that doesn't really move my needle. Seahawks. Oh, I could see Pete Carroll versus Urban Meyer. That's interesting. I like Jag Seahawks. That's always on Halloween. That's my number one right now. 49ers, no, they're gonna wax us. Falcons are boring.
Yeah. And then Rams is the other one.
Rams waxing us. So yeah, give me Seahawks. I think Urban Meyer, Pete Carroll on Halloween. Spooky.
And I'll be going to that game. Hopefully.
If Seattle's not locked down from
but COVID. I don't know about interesting because I've got a 7-10, so I have to be consistent with my take. And I think a lot of these NFC matchups will be disappointing in their result for us. So, but I'm interested to seeing how we play against them because NFC West is going to be the most fun division this year, and we get to play them. Great for us.
Oh, absolutely. And even some of the AFC matchups is where it's going to go next, obviously, versus Zach Wilson, or what we think will be Zach Wilson by that time. For sure that's going to be an interesting matchup. Have you guys really followed super closely the other rookie quarterbacks in the preseason, or do you just kind of turn a blind eye to it until the Bolts start flying at 100 miles an hour?
Yeah, we paid attention to a few games in the week 1 matchups. We saw like a few highlights. I didn't see much of Zach Wilson, but I paid attention to the Colts, Justin Fields, forget the other ones, but yeah, I've been paying attention to a lot of them. But I'm not too worried about Zach Wilson. Really, he hasn't looked too hot. But
saying shit like that, that's never good.
But we were excited. We were, before the schedule came out, we were excited to maybe see that one earlier in the season as a primetime matchup on like Thursday night or something, and for it to be late in the season, the day after Christmas, kind of pissed me off because I was actually looking forward to, maybe actually going and like beefing with Jets fans because they wanted Trevor Lawrence and then they got Zach Wilson. So it would have been fun. But with the schedule, how it worked out, I don't know if I'll be able to go. But that Thursday night game, I know Burrow's not a rookie, but basically is with missing the time last year. So he still has to prove himself there, even though he had a great season when he wasn't injured. But I think Burrow versus Lawrence will be the matchup of the AFC for us with that one primetime game that we have.
Yeah, so unfortunate for Burrow, man. Honestly, I think it'll be a fun game for sure. But at the same time, I just really feel bad for guys like him who do so well in college. He did amazing at LSU and then wins a national championship and all these things. Then he goes to the Bengals. And then they still have the audacity to draft a receiver instead of drafting a generational talent at offensive line, which is literally the position they need the most help with. So that's why when people talk about Trevor Lawrence, and either it's these high expectations or he's going to bust. So do you guys have any worries about how he'll turn out in Jacksonville, or just it'll be like Andrew Luck? Let's just breathe, relax, and enjoy ourselves for a while.
Listen, we went 1-15 and we had the number all overall pick to draft a generational talent. If Trevor Lawrence is not the next Andrew Luck, I'm leaving Jackson.
Yeah, I have no expectations. I just have hope. I'm done trying to predict, unless I'm predicting 10-7. I'm done trying to predict like stuff that's going to happen. I'm here for the ride, and I hope it's a good one.
You guys have been Jaguars fans for quite some time, and you guys are very well known in the realm of pop culture in Jacksonville, at least for football, I will say. And I love asking fellow Jaguars fans this question. What is your most memorable Jaguars game that you've watched as a fan outside of the playoffs? Because the playoffs, we can always just point to, Dave Guard versus Steelers. Yep. Blake Bortles beating Ben Roethlisberger. But what is the game that sticks out to you the most from the regular season as a Jaguars fan and all the years you followed?
Well, for me, it's going to be one from the 2017 season. Just going to have to, because that was the first year that I ever had season tickets. Before that, I would just randomly come up to a game that I could and tailgate with Andy. But 2017, I don't know why, but I just decided to get season tickets that year. I have no idea
The podcast, I think.
Even though we weren't living together, I was like, I'm going to get season tickets. You did have them that year too, right? Yeah. So from that season, I can remember I think the Patriots game was probably, that wasn't that year.
That was the next year, 2018.
Yeah, that's a memorable game for me, just because of the content that came from it with the lady in the section. I'm going to choose that one because after we won that, I thought we were going to win the Super Bowl that year again. But then the week after that, we lost to the Texans. That's the most vivid memory from my in-person Jags games because I do get obliterated at those. So my memory does leave me sometimes. But we were in the 400 section of that Patriots game after they had just kicked us off going to the Super Bowl after that dumbass call. And we beat the Patriots. And this Patriots fan behind me, and she's like giving me crap because I just was talking crap the entire game. She was telling me to sit down, like, you're in my house. But yeah, for me, even though that season was a terrible one, like many were, that's probably like my favorite game that I went to in person that I remember. You know, my memory's not great at those.
My favorite game in 2017, my favorite recent game is this Seahawks Jaguars in 2017 when it was a 4 p.m. game, but it got dark by second half. The energy in that stadium was better than I've ever experienced. That will hold a special place in my heart. Plus, when Bortles threw the touchdown pass, I think it was Keelan Cole. It was like I think it was right out of the half.
75 yards or something, I think.
Yeah. I celebrated like too hard, so hard that I got a little, like I pinched a nerve in my neck and I had a headache for a month straight. Like the headache did not go away for a whole month because whatever motion I made when Keelan Cole, when that play happened, pinched a nerve and I was in pain for a month, but it was worth it. But I think my favorite, the Colts Jags game in 2010 when Scobie hit the 59-yard field goal to beat Peyton Manning. That one's just so special because I was there with my dad. It was 11 years ago now. So I was a younger fan, more naive and more full of hope and optimism. And we never were able to beat Peyton Manning. So we were going back and forth that whole game with him. And I love watching Peyton Manning play, but when he played us, it was miserable. So the fact that, and I love the team now, but back then when I was like more naive to, what goes on behind the scenes, more naive to like just troubles of being a fan. Cause I was still younger and, newer to my fandom. Everything was just like, I was wearing the teal goggles. Like every year I was thinking playoffs. So when we beat them, with that field goal, that was the happiest. That may have been like happiest. I don't know. I can't say childhood. I was freaking. How old was I? I think it was
17.
I think I was. What's 28 minus 11? Yeah,
17.
I guess as a child. So I guess that's one of my favorite moments of my childhood. I can say that. So that holds a special place in my heart too.
I'm not surprised at both you guys' answers. Definitely the Patriots game in 2018. I remember like beating my chest as hard as I could and shouting Duval at the top of my lungs. I was in BC here in Canada at the time.
You're the only Jags fan there, or have you found other?
Actually on the football team I played on in BC, my holder, as I was a kicker, was also a Jaguars fan. So that was like every time kicked a field goal, have to do the Josh Lambo celebration every single time.
Nice.
So
Good
it was
chemistry
very
there.
special for sure. And that game, like I remember saying to him before the practice the next day, I was like, man, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're like ranked first in the power rankings and everything. Like I was so happy. Like, man, it's just a regular season game. I was like, it's not just a regular season game. It's the first time the Jaguars have beat the Patriots in the regular season ever. And the first time that Tom Brady's ever lost the Jaguars ever. The only team left that he's never lost to is the Atlanta Falcons. So at least Jaguars fans can say, or Brady retired, that they were able to beat him once.
Yeah, that's true.
What was that Falcon stat?
The Falcons are the only team that
Have
Tom
not
Brady
beaten.
has never lost to.
Oh, never lost to.
No, because
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy that the Jaguars were remaining on that list because we play them a lot more than NFC teams play Tom Brady. So we have a lot more chances to beat him than NFC teams. And the fact that we were on that list for so long is terrible.
I think I saw it a few years ago when they beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl. It said, oh, Tom Brady is still undefeated against these teams. And not even the Browns were up there. But again, because you guys remember the game where Tom Brady lost in Cleveland when the Browns had Peyton Hillis, I think it was. It was like a freak game, like literally a freak game. There's no way that anyone expected that to ever happen. I think it was 2010 or whatever. One of those years, just the Browns did something.
We never, going back to the Tom Brady and the Patriots team, never expected them to lose any game. And that was a freaking powerhouse. It's not fair.
Yeah. Sick.
It's unfortunate. And I was actually very fortunate enough to have Noah Thomas, another, Jacksonville great, on the podcast, and him talking about his experience going to 3 playoff games in 2017, and him talking about, seeing these kids cheer for the Patriots and be so happy, but never know what it's like to go what we've gone through. And I was like, man, it's so rough, but you know what? Sometimes the disappointment is what makes the victory that much sweeter. And when the Jaguars win a Super Bowl, hopefully sometime before we're all dead, then we'll be able to know that we deserve Purple Hearts and we are like literally war veterans of sports for having gone through so much pain. Or I guess Browns fans are the only ones that Browns or Lions fans could probably, attest to a little more misery than we could. So.
Oh yeah, I couldn't. I mean, we've had our struggles, but imagine being a Detroit Lions fan.
One playoff win in the Super Bowl era. One.
What?
That's it.
That's true?
Yes, I was going to say, not many people actually know that. Their divisional win in 91 against the Cowboys is the only time in the Super Bowl era the Lions have won a playoff game. And the only time they've made the conference championship was that year in 91, or it was 91. In the NFC championship, they lost the Redskins by a bunch, like by 30 or something. But
they have to have more than one playoff win then, right? To get to the AFC championship game.
So they won the division, right? So they played divisional and then they won and they went to the NFC championship and lost.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So the only team to have never made the conference championship is the Texans, but the Lions only have one playoff win ever. So I don't know how much worse it gets. I'd rather be a Browns fan than a Lions fan, but I mean, we're Jaguars fans, so we can't really say that we have much.
Well, I'd rather be a Jags fan now, of course.
We got
exactly.
We
see more playoff wins in one season than Lions fans have ever seen. And
that's wild.
Yeah, that's a real stat. That is a very real stat. So it's very sad for them. I do feel bad, but at the same time, I don't, because I've not seen the Jaguars yet beat the Lions in the time that I've been a fan. So I have yet to see that before I can go console people that cheer for Detroit.
Yeah, they cooked us last year.
We did beat them in 2007, but the Lions went 0-16 that year. So
yeah, actually, you know what the funny thing is, you mentioned about that, Eric, that game when they lost. I remember thinking, I was like, if they can't beat the Lions, it's over. They're going 1-15. There's no way they'll win another game if they can't beat the Lions. And
well,
when they lost in the
fashion
they did, I was like,
after
it's
the
over.
damn Dolphins.
That was bad, but like for me, it was the Lions. When they lost that game, I'm like, it's over. Like, phone it in right now. They're going 1-15. So, having said what we've talked about with the expectations, some of the matchups that the Jaguars are going to have this year that are going to be interesting. I must ask you guys, what is your favorite thing about being a Jaguars fan? We could sit here and talk all day about how miserable it is to witness the losing and some of the bad games and draft busts and picks and free agents and all that stuff. But what do you guys really love about cheering for the Jaguars, or at least just embracing the community?
Ooh, I might need a week on that one.
Mine is the fans. When I discovered Bold City Brigade and on Twitter, the community that's grown on Twitter online, a lot of them become family. So, and we have fun, like at these tailgates, we have fun regardless of how shitty the team is. So if it weren't for that community, it'd be hard keeping up with the team. So I'm going to go fans, number one. And number two, I'll add this. I am actually glad that they are kind of new in the league and haven't won a championship. So I can be there and no one will say I'm a bandwagon. I can be there for the first. I'll be there for a lot of the team's first things that they do. So I like that too.
For me, it's the football culture. I just love the football Sunday. I love waking up, going to the tailgate, walking to the stadium, breathing the fresh football air. It's revitalizing, and it's my favorite part of life in a way. So,
you can go be a Bucks fan. You can do that there.
I'm not done. The
Yes,
fan part. So me and Andy a little bit different here because he's lived in Jacksonville for several years over the past decade. This is my first time actually living here. And like I said, just had season tickets in 2017, been a Jags fan since I was 8, but my dad never brought me up to games every year because he's a Washington fan. So we just never came to games up here. So my first time really experiencing the fans and the tailgates and all that was randomly coming up to games with Andy and partying with the Bold City Brigade and them. But now this year, while living here, there's like this football Jags community that's like gravitating towards us because we do this Jaguars content. So now I'm starting to feel more of that Jags community that he's talking about being roped into it because of the content that I make. But I've never really felt a part of Jags Twitter or the community because I've never been really a part of Duval County in Jacksonville City. I've always been living in Daytona and went to school down in Boca Raton and didn't come up to games a lot. So I'm getting to experience that now for the first time, but I just really love football. The reason I picked the Jags was because it's the first game my dad ever took me to. So I'm a loyal fan. I stick with my teams, whether they suck or whether they're good and then fall off again. So like Andy said, when Jags finally win that Super Bowl, it'll be our first one. And I'm going to be so ecstatic to see that shit because I like football way more than I do NBA. And I've seen my NBA team win a championship twice. So it's going to be 10 times more amazing when the Jags finally do. But I just love football culture, and I'm excited to be up here with him and making Jags content and seeing where it takes us in our first year living together up here.
I've definitely seen you guys do a lot of hilarious stunts and videos. The practice facility, definitely very beautiful building. And
beautiful building. Sorry.
It's very nice, actually. I do like it. I'm not sometimes I feel like I'm when I went there in 2018, I watched them, the first Jaguars game I went to, I watched them beat the Colts 6-0. So
yay.
Quite the warm
I
welcome.
almost said yay.
Quite the warm welcome as a Canadian Jaguars fan to come down to Duval County to see Lambeau put 2 through the uprights. But hey, I watched the defense stop him on 4th and short a bunch of times. That was really cool. DJ Hayden's pick on the Colts' first 3rd down literally just made me deaf. I was like, wow, this stadium can get loud for sure. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. And I remember walking into the practice facility, going all around just the grounds of the stadium. And I literally felt like, if you guys ever watched SpongeBob as a kid, when he goes to the jellyfish convention, like that's literally what it was like. Everyone there was like, yeah, whatever, man, we suck, we're 4-9. And I was like, oh my God, look, the practice facility. Oh my God, look, there's this blow up thing. Oh my God, look, there's autographs. Oh my, like I was just so enamored by everything going on that it almost made for a hilarious scene because everyone there had already lived with the cynicism of what was the disappointing 2018 season. But it's definitely a very fun and vibrant community, as you said, Andy, with Bold City Brigade and what they've been able to do and the culture that they've brought to Jacksonville football. And Dunn, great point about how exciting it is to just wake up on Sunday and just feel football in the air, and to be able to walk to the stadium and to be amongst our own kinds in the world of football, so to say, because there's nowhere else in the entire United States, Canada, the rest of the world where most people cheer for the Jaguars than Duval County. So it's definitely a special community. I think honestly in the NFL, you have to be so loyal to cheer for a team that's gone through the second worst record of the 2010s, bottom 4 in winning percentage.
Who was the worst?
In the decade, it was the Browns. All time, it's the Buccaneers.
What?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Buccaneers have the worst record all time.
Worst record winning percentage all time. Every NFL team in franchise history. Yep. Yes, sir. Yeah, you don't believe me, but look it up. Like I'm
Hey,
serious.
I believe you. You've been coming with the stats today.
I looked it up so I was in grade 10 when I first saw this. The Jaguars were 17th out of 32 teams when I was in grade 10. So that's 2011, 2012. Since then, they're now 4th last, I believe it is. Or they could be 3rd, but correct me if I'm wrong, Andy. You're looking it up.
No, I just found the Bucs stat. They have the lowest winning percentage. They are 288 and 438, but you never hear the Bucs listed as the team within the teams that are just in the bottom cellar of the league. Like it's always Lions, Browns, Jags.
Cardinals are there too.
Yeah, the Cardinals have the most losses of everyone.
Texans.
But wow, you never hear the Bucs because they've won 2 Super Bowls, maybe 2. Yeah, 2.
2, yeah.
Yeah, 2 now.
Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that, honestly. But at the same time, now that I think of it, I'm not really surprised because they literally started their existence as an NFL franchise losing their first 26 games. So classic 0-14 season, 76 expansion Buccaneers. And then they started the next season, 77, 0-12, won the last 2. And then 78, they won the division. So talk about a big turnaround. But yeah, the Buccaneers through the 80s, still the creamsicle uniforms. Vinny Testaverde holds the record for most interceptions thrown into season with 35. That was on the Buccaneers. So,
bro, we need you on our podcast whenever we're stumped.
Can you come be our critic?
You come correct with these stats.
I don't know. I wanted to play football, so I started religiously watching NFL Network, and I watched every top 10 that existed. And my brothers and I would just like memorize the stats and like learn new ones. So yeah, I don't know. I try to commit some interesting stats to memory that tell an interesting story and put the pieces together of a puzzle that maybe looks a little odd when you first take a glance at it. You know, like the Buccaneers, the worst. Well, they literally almost went back-to-back winless seasons at the beginning, and they had one of the worst records of the 80s in the NFL, and they didn't actually turn it on until the 2000s. So, or the Saints too. Saints had, I think it was what?
Yeah.
They went 23 seasons without having a winning record until eventually in whatever it was, I think 2004 or 5, around the Hurricane Katrina time. I don't know the exact precise year, but they went the longest stretch of not having a winning season out of any team in NFL history. So they weren't called the Aints for nothing. There's a lot of interesting stats about some of the NFL teams that really makes you think, wow, like this is crazier than I thought. Like the Lions, like didn't even have any idea that the Lions have one playoff win in the entire Super Bowl era. That to me is one of the most shocking stats in NFL history. I don't know if there's one that's honestly more crazy than that, because they have a loyal fan base and they have a big fan base. They're not a small market team.
Yeah, they have to. You have to be loyal for that. I don't know if I could stick around for that. I did. And then you get Jared Goff. Like there are Lions fans that have Jared Goff jerseys. Like, haven't you given up by now? How are you still on board? I couldn't do it. I don't think. I think I would be tested
football,
heavily.
Man. It's football. You get 16 games and you think every year it comes by, you're going to do something better. It's the mental illness, but we all have it.
Every year in the preseason, everyone looks amazing. Everyone's draft grade is B+A. What an amazing, class. Oh, this is so great. And there was actually a tweet that went out. I'm sure maybe you guys actually saw it. There's a tweet that said, men will literally go on Wikipedia at 1 a.m. to look up the results of the 2013 NFL draft.
Yes.
Okay. Funny side note about that. I had a radio show here on campus at the University of Manitoba The guy who tweeted that was my co-host and lives 2 houses down from me in Winnipeg. He's my neighbor.
What?
Dead serious.
And that shit turned into a meme.
Yeah, and it was hilarious because we've jabbed about that kind of stuff all the time. Then to see him blow up with that, I mean, he's blown up with a few. He's been quote tweeted by the Cardinals, the Panthers, and does stuff for the Draft Network. So he's definitely one of the smart minds. At Carter Donick, you should definitely go check out his Twitter page. He's a funny guy. He's a good kid as well. And we would talk about those kinds of things. Like one of the things I enjoy the most about being a Jaguars fan is just like embracing the community of oddity. Like it's not commonplace to meet someone that cheers for the Jaguars. You see here in Canada, all the big teams, right? Like in Canada, the teams that get the most love are Patriots, Cowboys, Steelers, Packers. Those are like big 4 teams that get tons of love. You see them, all their jerseys and shirts, whatever, at every place, especially in like the prairies in Canada. A lot of people love cheering for the Packers or the Bears, the Vikings, a lot of NFC North love because of the geographic proximity. But that's what's fun about like Jags Twitter, or the jokes, or a lot of the inside jokes that I still am coming to learn when I see random tweets, or Med tweet something, or one of you guys, or whatever, any of the different interesting and funny characters that do exist in the realm of Jaguars Twitter. But I must ask you guys then, on that note, who do you think are the funniest or the most interesting people, besides yourselves, obviously, that exist in Jags Twitter?
Oh, wow. Damn. I wish I was prepared for this one, because I don't want to leave anyone out, because there are definitely, that's a good one.
Just start shooting names. You have to list. You don't list them all. We can tag them in the comments.
J-Nubs.
You might have to edit this one out, because I'm blanking.
Well, okay, I'll I guess get us kickstarted. So I definitely love the work that John Shipley, Demetrius do.
Oh, okay. So Demetrius,
I mean, like media people.
Yeah, media, and also people that are like funny and humorous. Like Dilla is definitely one that jumps off the page to me, because Noah told me, he's like, you should go follow Dilla, and I followed him. I was like, oh man, this guy's
you probably would have seen Dilla anyway without someone lobbing him up to you. He's definitely become the focal point of Jaguars Twitter. Seeing Demetrius go from like I remember he used to write articles and Jaguars Twitter, because he would get roasted a lot for his takes. This is when he was younger, probably still in high school. He'd get roasted a lot for his takes. And when people found out he was a writer, they were like, the community was like kind of laughing at that. Like, really, Demetrius? But he has gone from that to now him and Shipley, one of the most respected people in Jaguars Twitter. It's the character arc of Demetrius is one of the most fascinating ones, and he's a really good guy. So he's one of my favorites for sure. And then, my close friends are Medlin, J-Nubs, Dilla, Solly. Again, I didn't want to start naming because I feel like I'd forget someone, but those are the ones I've bonded with off the internet. But there's a lot of good humans in Jaguars Twitter for sure. Like the charity work that they do, the way trips that are planned. It's awesome.
Yeah, for me, a little tougher. I follow over 4,000 people, so my timeline is a mix of Jags people and people all over the damn world. So like mostly people that I'm familiar with are people that I tailgate with. So all the people he mentioned, I actually went to college with Demetrius at FAU. That's how we started our little relationship. But when I'm at the tailgate, usually hanging out, saying what's up to a bunch of people there. So sometimes I don't remember their names, but I'm working on it. And yeah, it's just a lot of people I come into contact with on a daily basis on Twitter for me to like remember, names specifically in Jags Twitter. So the people that I tailgate with, and like J-Nubs and Dilla, Demetrius are like the main like big three that I communicate with mostly through those people.
And I know also Big Cat Country definitely deserves a lot of love for all that they do. And I think Ryan Day is one of the main people involved with them, if I'm not mistaken. And I see that I love the humor that they carry in their posts, and also part cynicism when they're not doing well, but also being objective after the fact. And I think that there's a lot of good analysis that they talk about as well. Jaguar Report also does a lot of great stuff. There's just Gen Jaguar. There's also UCF Jaguar as well. Like, it's such a widespread community. And I think that's what makes it so unique, is that though there's not many of us Jaguars fans in the world, we probably have like a stronger bond amongst each other than any other NFL team, because we literally have to. And every time, I'm telling you, in Canada, especially here in Winnipeg, every time I've seen someone with a Jaguars shirt, jersey, hat, keychain, whatever, it's literally like, you're my brother, you're my sister on site. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And it's just this instant bond is created. And that's why when I was down there, I was like, oh, this is like, whatever. Like, why is this guy so excited? Like, it's just another, season of us winning 33% of our games. But then when you get to like know how far and wide it stretches, that's what makes it like, wow, we're actually a part of something bigger than ourselves. And it's not just about, the tailgates. It's about how far this community spreads outside of Duval.
Do you have any plans of attending any games this season?
Well, I am eligible to fly down to the US. So I've definitely been planning on going to some games. I was talking with one of my close friends who's a Titans fan. Yes, I give it to him with both barrels all the time about every single thing I can to roast the Titans. And the funny thing is, actually, the first time I ever saw the Jaguars play the Titans was when they beat them in 2013, and Will Blackman strip sacked Ryan Fitzmagic and took it to the house, and they beat them 29-27 at Nissan Stadium. The last time they beat them.
Oh my
the last time they beat them in Nashville was the first time I saw them play Tennessee. It was insane. Delaney Walker.
That's the last time we beat them in Nashville?
Yes, 2013,
Oh my
29-27.
God.
Every single time I
God.
see my friend, I always tell him, oh, you can make fun of me for whatever, 87-yard run in 2015 and, 40, all this stuff. But all I say in response, 29-27. It's the only words I have to say, and it razzes him enough. But we've been talking about
Don't know why.
What
game?
Yeah, we've been talking about going to see Jaguars Titans and then driving down or flying down to watch Jaguars Texans at home the next week. But I've definitely been looking at going to the Jaguars game, whether even if it's the Colts week 18 or whatever it is. Like, I definitely want to go to a game this year. No ifs, ands, or buts. I've connected with enough Jacksonville people now that I know. Because the last time I went by myself, I was supposed to go to one of my best friends, but he got into med school. I didn't know about that. And people after the fact said, dude, you went to a Jaguars game in Jacksonville that they won 6-0, literally the lowest scoring game in the NFL since whatever, like 2007.
Here he goes.
And you went there by yourself. Like, why? And I was like,
wow.
I don't know, man. Like, I love the team. Like, is there anything wrong with that?
I'm just glad they won for you.
Yeah, if they would have lost, that would have been a punch in the gut for sure. But
yeah, the odds of them of winning again, you coming down and seeing a win, very slim. So the fact that you did and they won, that's who cares what the score was?
Literally,
you got lucky.
I said to people, I was like, you know what? The Jaguars at that point had lost, because 2018 they started 3-1. So I think they had lost, because that made them 4-9. So they were 3-9. So they had lost 8 in a row up top point. And then that broke their losing streak. And the Colts had won 8 or 9 in a row, because they started 1-5 and then they blew it up and they went crazy. And then they lost the Jaguars and then they went 10-6, I think it was. So they lost a big winning streak and the Jaguars broke a big losing streak. And that was that game. So it was kind of cool to be at the matrix of that moment as well. So.
Yeah. Well, I like that idea of trying to relive that win on the road in Nashville and then driving to Jacksonville to watch that game. That'll be dope.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's not a big deal either way. I know the NFC opponents is kind of obscure, like if I work or how the fall works out, but I definitely know for a fact that if I get down to a Jaguars game, I'm literally blowing up every person's DMs, phone, whatever that I know down there, because I think that it would be a lot more enjoyable to get the Build City Brigade experience, to actually get to embrace more of the community. Because I just walked in all by myself and was just like a tourist, that you see at the Great Wall of China, just walking around with the headphones.
That's cool too.
Looking at all You know,
Yeah, that's how I be at road games.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, getting that experience in Tennessee, I think, is also pretty cool because even though the Titans fans are a bunch of losers, you still get to travel in a big pack on the road. It's not too far. It's not like in Canada where, you know, to travel to the next province or next major city is like the same amount of time it takes to like go through like 4 states to go to Tennessee or something. Like,
And I'm also shocked because sometimes when I go to road games, people are way friendlier than Jags fans are when people come to our stadium. It's kind of weird because I went to Colts in 2019 and everyone in Indy was like so friendly. Like at the tailgates, at the pregame, I'm like, be rude to me. Because if you guys were in the Jacksonville Stadium, I would be chewing you guys out. So people are nice when you like just go up and start talking football with them sometimes. I think it depends on the fan base. I haven't experienced every NFL fan base yet. Patriots, rude. Bills, rude. But Colts fans, they're okay.
I give them a thumbs up because after the game, I'm the kind of person, I'm not the classic shit talker. So I made sure to say good game to all the Colts fans I saw there and met some fans afterwards on one of the river taxis. We were just looping around the landing. Rest in peace before I got taken down there. But no, the Colts fans were definitely very nice. And I'm always very pleasantly surprised at the warm hospitality that I've received from people down in the southern U.S. and just from the U.S. in general. I know people talk about Canadians always being super friendly. Sometimes the case, sometimes not. But I definitely try to, you know, act with grace in a win or a loss because I know what it's like to be roasted for the team losing. And I've seen way more of that than I've seen winning. So I try to be humble and remember where the Jaguars have come from.
Better man than me.
So, guys, we're getting towards the end of our time, and I want to ask you guys a few quick wrap-up questions to have a little more fun before we part for today.
Okay.
Do it.
First question, and this might be a tough one, but who is the best defensive player in Jaguars history?
Is it Ramsey?
Man, I'm not old enough for the 99, but I hear a lot of good things about if I could take any player and put him on our team, I think it'd be awesome to have John Henderson on the team. I don't know. It could also be Calais. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not old enough to remember to know about Brackens, Donovan Darius, Mike Peterson.
You old enough to name them?
Yeah,
Kevin Hardy.
Yeah. So in my experience, since I've been watching, give me Calais Campbell, just the way that he changed the whole line and his energy plus his energy. So I know that's probably not the right answer, and not the answer a lot of people would give, but he big impact, probably the best free agency signing that we've had. So
Eric, the floor is yours.
I'm going to take a defensive back. I'd probably take Donovan Darius or Rasheed Mathis, just because Mathis was one of my favorite players. Even Marcus Stroud, he's a good one too. I'm going to go Donovan Darius there, just because it's a strong name and he was a great player.
I don't think you guys are wrong with either of those answers because there are definitely a lot of perspectives you could take into consideration when talking about defensive players in Jaguars history, whether it be 2 good seasons or 4. I mean, I don't know if any Jaguars players had more than like 7 or 8 seasons on defense, like John Henderson's up there, or Tony Brackens, or Posluszny, or Kevin Hardy. Like, the list is not long, that's for sure. Next question is this. What is your favorite sports movie?
Sandlot.
Let me think on this.
I was gonna say Space Jam 2, but
Space Jam 2. Oh man. I like Sandlot, but it's not my favorite. It's probably going to be one more towards adulthood, I feel like.
Hey, Mr.
The Blind Side for me.
That's a great one. That's a very
Sandra.
favorite childhood sports hero.
Boy said rapid fire. Boy, making me think.
My childhood, it's got to be Jones Drew. Yeah, it's got to be Jones Drew. I had his jersey. We have the same birthday. And he carried my childhood Jaguars, so on his back.
Literally.
You said sports, not football, just sports.
Yeah, it can be outside of football.
Dale Earnhardt.
He said sports.
Yeah, no, that's a sport. Yeah, that's acceptable.
Hey man, I used to go to the races every year. Being a Daytona resident, I had so much NASCAR memorabilia more than football. Cried when he died on my birthday. That's my hero.
That's as an acceptable answer. I'm not going to say that NASCAR is not a sport, especially if you come from Daytona Beach. It's as real as a sport as you can get, for sure. So,
Tomato might be.
Jesus, sorry.
We got a soundboard here, and he did a little snooze to my answer.
oh my goodness, that's one of the benefits of just being in the same house. You can go to the next room and have a little fun there.
Bro, this man came stomping over here.
I hit the wrong button too at first.
Tomato might be.
More on that. I do want to ask, so then this may coincide with the same answer. What is your favorite sports memory from your childhood? Could be favorite game, favorite
Childhood,
moment.
huh?
Yeah, I answered mine. Colts 59-yard field goal. I'm sorry, Scobie's 59-yard field goal.
Yeah, how about when you were younger than 10? Younger than 10 years old.
Younger than 10.
To
17,
be honest,
you're like almost a young adult.
To be honest, I didn't get into sports until like I was 13 or 14.
Facts.
So okay, so then what was the thing that got you into sports? What was like the first most memorable moment that you experienced watching sports then?
Okay.
Why was NASCAR my first sport?
Mine's David Garrard's run versus Steelers. Is 4th and 2.
That's a beautiful one.
That's pretty amazing.
I can recite the whole play too.
Check it out on YouTube if it's still up.
I watch it every other day. Don't you worry. Garrard's gonna run for the first 10 more. He is down inside the 20. He's inside the 10. And oh man, it's
pretty good.
And now the Jaguars are in a position where the Steelers are backed up and they're gonna have to use their timeout.
Wow, and you weren't even a fan back then.
Nope. I was only 11 years old, so
these are just
watching,
binging that video online.
Yeah, binge that video. And my favorite one to binge though is Garrard's Hail Mary with a Gus Johnson call. Because my buddy and I
Garrard steps, what does he say?
Steps up, fires Mike Sam's Walker, knocked down. Oh, we got it all. Unbelievable. Mike Thomas, touchdown Jags. Ball game, 50 yards.
Wow. Yep. That's word for word.
Childhood, you say?
Yeah. For Dale Earnhardt Jr., I already see Andy walk in the other room, but you can say something else to prevent that if you want.
Because I got into like sports later, but this wasn't a great memory, but I remember it vividly. It was Spurs Magic, and Spurs don't come hit the snooze button, Andy.
What year?
It was 2011, I believe.
Okay.
So I'm like 18. Feels like a child now. It's 10 years ago. But
Jesus.
Spurs were up by one. They were up by one. There's like 0.8 seconds left. Magic are inbounding. It's in Orlando, so I'm the only one in a Spurs jersey. I was a Spurs fan. And they inbound the ball. I think it was Hito Turkoglu or something that inbounded it. and it was an alley-oop buzzer beater with 0.8 seconds left to Dwight Howard.
Oh,
And
no.
the arena goes absolutely nuts. And I'm just standing there, just pissed. And I remember that because my dad took a picture of me at that game back when people printed out pictures, and I think I still have it. And I just look like I got dreads, I'm chubby, fat face, fat body, little gold watch in my Spurs jersey, surrounded by Magic fan. But remember that vividly. Bad memory. A lot of bad childhood sports memories.
Yeah, I mean, all the teams I cheer for, like they all started to just come around. Like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers here, our CFL team, literally won their first Grey Cup in a 9-team league. They won it for the first time in 29 years in 2019. So first time I'd even been alive to see them win. The Raptors have to cheer for the only Canadian NBA team, won the championship for the first time the same year. Winnipeg Jets have only made the conference finals once ever in 2018. Lost to Vegas 4-1. Jaguars, AFC Championship. I've only seen them make it 2017 as a fan. They've made it 3 times. And then I think that is it. Yeah, I don't cheer for any MLB team. I mean, like the Jays if they do well, but I'm not like a baseball fan. And that's it. So yeah, being from Winnipeg is, I will say this, and I've said this a ton of times before, but I'll say this to you guys. Winnipeg and Jacksonville have a lot more similarities than I was initially led to believe. And the fact that they were NHL and ECHL affiliates of each other is hilarious. Both cities that have 2 major rivers that cross through the middle, tons of bridges, football team that has a very storied past and a terrible presence. Hope for the present. I mean, the Bombers ended up winning it all recently, but before that it was terrible. You know, a lot of friendly people, but also a very even mix of nice areas, bad areas, and you know, a hockey team that doesn't get as much love as it deserves. So yeah, it's weird, man. You know, it's very weird, but I embrace it. You know, being from Winnipeg is one of the most made fun of cities in all of Canada, and honestly, like all of North America, because it's like the murder capital of like Canada all the time. And
Jeez.
2 murders a year.
No, a lot more than that, but
I'm surprised you didn't know the number.
Oh, I mean, I think there was like 11.
Gotta pull it out.
Within a few months of like 2018 or 19, it was like 11 within a few months. And like, that was huge. But I mean, obviously everything's bigger in America, not just Texas. So probably doesn't rival anywhere in America. But interesting fact, actually, I did learn from a TikTok video. Winnipeg has more restaurants per capita than any other city in North America.
Here we go. That's crazy. That
We
is a
love
good
our
stat.
unique restaurants and our franchises and chains. So
That might
Why
be
y'all
Eric's
killing
next.
people then? Y'all hungry? Y'all should be content and happy. Y'all have
no, man, it's, I don't know. It's
the
weird.
hockey. It's a hockey team.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Bombers have been around forever and ever since 1930. So they celebrated whatever 90 years. I mean, last year there was no season for the CFL, so they couldn't celebrate that. But the Jets came in 72, left in 96, came back in 2011. So, and also it's like a very expensive outing. So most Winnipeggers can't afford to go. So even though hockey is definitely the most popular sport in Canada, the Bombers and football probably have a bigger history and are more embedded in the culture of like Winnipeg sports. But hockey is very popular, so it catches up real quick.
Makes sense.
Well, gentlemen, with that, guys, Andy, Eric, I want to thank you for having been on today's episode. I had tons of fun talking about Jaguars football with you guys, pulling up random stats, laughing about, hitting the snooze button and how NASCAR is a questionably, may or may not be a real sport. Mr. Jackson DeVille making an appearance here. Always a great sight to see. The best mascot in the NFL, best in Major 4 North American Pro Sports Leagues, no question. Gentlemen, thanks for having been on. It was a great pleasure.
Yes, thank you as well. This was a pleasure on my end as well.
Thanks for having us. Check us out. Dunn and Drew. Just Google the name, baby.
Yeah, you guys need to go check out Dunn and Drew on Twitter. Go check them out individually as well. You guys have a lot of great content that you post about the Jaguars and just a lot of funny
TikTok.
stuff.
Hey, our TikTok blowing up. Boy, follow us.
Yes, and go check. And is it also Dunn and Drew on TikTok as well?
Oh yeah, we uniform.
Yes, there you go. So go check them out, Dunn and Drew on TikTok. And thank you for listening to today's episode with the hosts of the Dunn and Drew podcast.